With Last Epoch fully launching into 1.0 this week, there will be a large influx of new travelers to the game. In this video, I want to give you some quick tips that will help you get started, or at least set up your expectations when you make your first character, such as your mastery, when you get it, how it all works, things that the game tells you about but doesn't really flesh out properly for new players. We'll also briefly go over skills, crafting, and some other game concepts on a very high level. I'll be doing a far more in-depth beginner's guide later, but this should answer some of your initial questions upon creation. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge of my videos so you can decide if it's the right one for you. While it's tough to kind of paraphrase a list of things in a few sentences, you can jump to any part of the list using the chapters in the timeline and the description. This way you can shore up knowledge on things you might not know a ton of, or what have you. But one of the biggest bits of advice to you is that after selecting your class, you'll select a mastery. A lot of people wonder when that is, but it's generally around level 16 or so. It's entirely narrative based, so just push through the campaign and you'll select your mastery from there. Also, keep in mind that your mastery is locked in and cannot be re-rolled. You can respec your skills, your passives, your skill specs, but not your mastery. That's really the most important thing I wanted to convey. So if you've looked at the list and you know all the other points, please feel free to shut the video down and get back to enjoying Last Epoch. Before you head out, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you found this video helpful, as that does help me out in a huge way. You can find a link to my Twitch in the description, where I will be streaming this game, Baldur's Gate 3, and a ton more. But let's get started here on my things to know before starting Last Epoch. And there's no better place to start than right here at character creation. So you're going to select one of 5 classes. You've got your Sentinel, you've got your, this is a Rogue, it's a Rogue, I can never remember the base name, Mage, your Primalist, and your Acolyte. And from there, every single one of these characters is going to have 3 masteries that you can specialize into. Now, like I said, that mastery is going to come about at around level 16 or so. Just basically follow the story of the game, and it's going to present you the option to choose your mastery. And you can see from this location that you can see all of the general skills you're going to get, as well as jumping into a mastery, all the specific skills you're going to get. Basically, a mastery is going to take portions of the base class's skills and specialize them. It doesn't show it here, but the base class for the Primalist gets access to a Summon Wolf. So, you know what, maybe I want to really lean into the summons and the minions. Well, that's my Beastmaster right here. Or maybe I want to go hard in the paint on elemental magic and totems. That's going to be Shaman. Or maybe I want to do a ton of shape-shifting and transform my character. That's going to be the Druid. So you'll be able to kind of have a little bit of a sample of most of these skills in just your base kit, but you, of course, choose your mastery to specialize. Even further, you know, if I wanted to be a Bone Necromancer from, what's the hell's that game called? Diablo 2, like a Summon Daddy, here you go. The Necromancer here is going to be real rewarding, let me tell you that. There's a lot of things you can summon. Or maybe I want to be a melee character. Well, you can go with the Lich. You can have a lot of fun with a lot of these masteries. But one big takeaway I want you to get from this is this game is optimized in the way that none of these builds are terrible. There are some that maybe lack a little bit, like, for example, the Shaman is in kind of a funky spot, or the Forge Guard is kind of in a weird spot, but it's still 100% viable. You can clear all of the top tier stuff in monoliths and what have you, and you're going to have a lot of fun. This game is created in the way that you just simply choose a class and then choose a mastery that genuinely interests you, and you're going to just choose things that make sense for that character. Hey, you know what? I'm going to be the Forge Guard, and I'm going to look at doing a ton of fire damage. So I'm going to have all my skills morph into fire damage, and I'll show you how to do that in the skill section. But don't go chasing down the meta leveling build or the meta top tier over 9,000 DPS build. You can do it, definitely have at it if you want to, but you're gonna not notice a huge increase over just playing a build you want to do and have fun with it, because you paid money for this. It's escapism. Unless you're really trying to top the leaderboards, just enjoy yourself, because the game is not created in a way to make it so oppressive that you need that top tier build. It's way more approachable from any build standpoint. Now that you've selected your class, it's important to understand how your passives work. So your passives are going to be things that are going to, well, you guessed it, passively enhance your character. And you'll see when I hover over them, sometimes, like if you look at the Rogue or whatever the Blade Dancer base is, you'll get the dual wielding passive through there. And there's a bunch of other little things like, hey, this is going to increase your health and health restored, or this is going to help out with your minion damage. Whatever it is, you're going to find the passives that make sense for the type of character you want to create. And of course, you can respec these anytime, and you can search them. So if you're trying to make a minion build, go ahead and type minion up here, and now you know, oh, I need this one, this one, this one, that one, and some variation. It just kind of gives you at least a blueprint to go about. And what you'll notice here at the bottom is after a certain amount of investment into your passive tree, you'll unlock these skills. And we'll go over skills and everything in just a little bit. But what's important to know, though, is I've selected the Beastmaster, mastery for this character. But your other two masteries, you can still invest points in them. You can see up to 20 points that can be invested into this branch. Pretty sure it's 20. And then it stops. Like I can't go any further. So if I actually want to go into some of the traits of the shaman tree that I found really strong, you know what? I'm going to make a lightning type of character. Well, oh man, there's a whole good branch of lightning abilities all right here. I'm going to jump into them and see what I can do to have a lot of fun. Or maybe I'm going to go over here to druid stuff and pull some shape shifting stuff. I think it's form. I think that's the thing for it, the tag. Yeah, transform. That's it. Transform. Okay, well, I can see that. Well, maybe there's a good one over here, but there's this one right here. But I really want to just go into a Spriggan. Well, cool. I get that by investing 5 points into this tree. So while maybe my mastery is not shaman or druid, I can still benefit from jumping little bits of points into these individual passive trees to pull out either skills or set passives that benefit the build that I have in mind. And also worth noting that there is a mastery skill down here as well. So I have this because this is my mastery. You won't be granted this because you don't have this as a mastery, or that as a mastery. So once you set this mastery as your actual mastery, you'll be granted this skill. Just to give you that bit of information. If you're wondering, how do I get werebear form? Well, that's what you needed to do. You have to have that as your specialized mastery. So when it comes to your skills and specializations, you have the ability to really kind of have a lot of fun here. You're going to unlock specialization slots as you progress through the game. I think the first one's at like level 5, then it's like 10, then it's 20, and I think the last one is over here at 50. I don't remember what this one's at. I think it might be 40. But basically, you have access to all the skills here that are colored in, and it kind of shows you a little bit of more information over here with little context tips, stuff like that. But when you specialize a skill, you basically get a whole set of talent tree, or a whole talent tree that unlocks by specializing in it. So you can now change a skill and morph this to fit the build you have in mind. Remember, like I was talking about earlier, hey, maybe I want to be a forge guard that does a bunch of fire damage. Maybe I want to be a beastmaster that focuses on that lightning damage. Well, by using the search command up here, I've now highlighted all of my lightning abilities that I can really turn my wolves into doing more lightning damage. Or the same thing here with swipe. I can go ahead and type lightning here and oh, cool, same thing. I can really kind of drill down on doing tons of lightning damage. And that's really the crux of this game, is having fun and morphing these abilities to make sense for you. And also too, with the ability to kind of morph these, you can turn them into more than what they are. Take, for example, this ability here. I mean, we can go down this tree. I think it's somewhere, it's this one. We'll go, this is a leap, right? Where I jump into the air and I smash into the ground. Well, if I go over here, I also make it that when you land with Fury Leap, you cast another spell, Upheaval. So it will use any specialization points you've put into your Upheaval. It casts it as if you have it casted yourself, and you add a little bit of flair to it. Over here, this adds some healing to things. If you're playing with the Sentinel, there's a Warpath ability that is just a swipe in front of you, but you can turn it into a whirlwind. Or they have a hammer they smash on the ground, well, you can then throw that hammer. Or that hammer can then be thrown and then rotate around you. So you have a lot of ways to morph all these skills to fit in the way that you want to play the game. Like I said here too, this is a bunch of wolves. I can find a unique in the game that turns my wolves into squirrels. And there's no hyperbole there. So there's a lot of stuff that's not just simply on the face value of the skill. Have fun with it and enjoy it, and try and tinker with it and make it fit the way you want to play and not some sort of meta build. But also, there's this respec button I want to quickly go over. So your individual skills level up with their own skill experience bar, different than your own bar down here. So you can see here, all you need to do is just have it selected and specialized, and you'll get experience towards it, so you're good to go. You don't have to actually, okay, I got to make sure I get the killing blow with Fury. It doesn't work like that. You just have to have it specialized. Well, after you specialize and after it levels up, you'll get these individual points that you would put into all these, as you would normally do. But you can also respec this. So I can press this button, and I've got two options. I can despecialize the skill, completely removing it and choosing a new one, or remove skill points. Keep in mind though, remove spent points of your choosing in the skill tree. Each point removed will reduce the skills level by 1 if above your minimum skill level. What does that mean? So if I despecialize the skill or remove points, the lowest a skill can be in my spec slot because of my level is level 9. So if I were to despecialize the skill and choose another one, like let's just say upheaval would come in at level 9, and I'd have 9 points to invest into upheaval. Conversely too, if I were to drop this, if I were to take out 20 points from Summon Wolf, the lowest it would go would be level 9. And then for it to catch up to, level 20, you actually get a little bit of an experience bonus. So it will scale back to level 20 very quickly. It's not just going to sit there for, I've been on months grinding my Summon Wolf back up to 20. No, it's within a play session or two, you should have it way back up to its cap. So that's how your skills and specs work, and it's a very big part of this game. Now, another large portion of the game is forging and crafting. Now, I have a whole guide on this, so I'm just going to give you a very quick rundown. But pretty much every single item in the game has forging potential. You can see that right there, little anvil, 26 forging potential. And when you press F to bring up your forge, you can drag and drop this in, shows you your forging potential. And every single item will have either 2 prefixes or 2 suffixes. Those are your affixes. You'll use affix shards to add them manually, or you can do other things. You can use any of these runes, like say, for example, the Rune of Discovery, to add random shards. Or you can then use stuff like this Glyph of Hope to add a specific shard, maybe, let's just press this one right here, and have it not possibly cost you forging potential. Forging potential is essentially the currency that you'll use to improve, add, or remove all of your affixes from any item. And the point of this is to super build out an item that fits the build you have in mind. So maybe I just want to further increase the strength here. I can go ahead and I'll just do it right here to show you. Press this button. Hey, Glyph of Hope preserved the forging potential, because you can use these little glyphs to kind of skirt some of the rules of the crafting game. And then I was able to increase the tier of my strength, prefix here. So this is kind of convoluted, and when you first start out, it's going to be a little scary. Don't worry, it's not going to be as big until you get to the mid game when you understand the game a lot more. But just be on the lookout and try and find things that will make sense for your character. Take, for example, this axe, or these boots. Minion dodge rating is on these. Or this over here has increases to my swipe skill and my summon frenzy totem. 2 things that I use all the time with my build. Or this has got minion damage and minion health, things that are helpful to my build. So I found these items and I put them in here and I improved them. Or I use this to shatter them and keep those shards for myself to add them to items that I find in the future. Now, another really important portion of jumping into Last Epoch for the first time is your loot filter. You're going to be overwhelmed with a lot of trash items that you don't really know if they're going to help your character or not. And in the beginning portions of the game, that's no big deal. You just pick everything up and you sell it. You pretty much only are going to use your gold for stash tabs or buying runes of shattering. What you're going to want to do here is every single content creator that has made build guides typically has a loot filter that you can pull that from them if you're following one of their guides. Otherwise, you can just simply type in Beastmaster. For example, I'm a Beastmaster loot filter, and you'll probably get linked over here to Max Roll. What you're going to do is come down here to loot filter, and you're going to download that loot filter. You can go ahead and use that, and it's going to help you out with basically being able to reverse engineer and understand this. You'll paste it in and it'll give you this entire set of rules. And if you want, and I encourage you, just kind of sit here, like it takes 10-15 minutes, kind of read all these little things, what they're doing. Hey, okay, this is recoloring idols with 2 great affixes. And it's telling, I've set up through these, this loot filter, okay, it's telling me I have certain affixes selected, and these are the affixes that are really going to be important for me. Okay, I want these ones. Okay, cool. Minion melee damage, melee attack speed, minion critical strike. I know looking at this, you're like, dude, that's a lot of nested menus. I am freaking out. Like I said, don't worry about it. Go ahead and just grab one and use one. And as you get further into the game, learn to kind of say, hey, okay, now I understand that. I can go ahead and custom build out these loot filters, or I understand why this loot filter is giving me this recolor here, and now I can change it. And once you get to certain breakpoints, like, hey, high value access early in campaign. Well, we're not in the early campaign anymore, so we can go ahead and like shut these off, stuff like that. Just keep in mind, rules positioned higher in this list overrule those below them. So this is a really great way to just get your feet wet with loot filters, but loot filters are really, really important to the game. If you want to build one out yourself, have at it. But if you want something that's a little more on the rails, just grab one from Maxroll. They have one for damn near every single mastery. Go with that and then reverse engineer it to make it fit you and your character. A quick little tool tip down here that's really going to help you out if you're playing any kind of range character or mage character, pretty much any kind of ranged ability. I'm sure you're used to pressing shift and then holding down maybe Q or whatever, right? Well, what you can do in this game is you can left click this and you'll see this little ability right here. We click that again, and what I'm going to choose is W, move or attack. If you press the move button while hovering over an enemy, you will use your second ability, W by default, instead of moving, as long as your ability is targeted or you're holding shift. So in this case, what it allows me to do is, let's go up to some group of enemies, which should be just down here. I can hold down shift and just simply click them, and it will use my W ability with my left mouse button. Rather than me having to press shift and use W and do the same exact thing, it just allows me a little bit more versatility, so my hand isn't trying to jump around from shift to W to E to R, stuff like that. If you're not going to use a lot of those, then you're probably never going to do it. Like personally, my character, I'm like this all the time, and I almost never ever use shift or anything because I'm a melee character, but it makes a lot more sense for ranged ones, which you might be if you're playing a rogue or a mage or what have you. One of the last things I want to focus on is idols. Now, idols are basically what Last Epoch uses in lieu of Diablo 2's charm system or anything of the sort. They are items that you're going to keep in these idol slots that are going to give you passive bonuses to your character. It's a great way to kind of give you a little bit of a power bump. But when you start off, when you first unlock it, you'll unlock like 1, 2, 3, 4 idol slots. This will never become unlocked. And you're going to unlock more of these through the side quests. So what I'll tell you is when you're progressing through your first character, just make sure you knock out all the side quests to get all of your idols slots unlocked. And you can track that by pressing M, coming here into the lower left corner, and you'll see idol slot rewards, and you'll see passive point rewards. So this allows you to kind of track if you've gotten all of your idle slots unlocked through all of the quests and what have you. Same thing with your passive points as well. So that's a big crucial portion of this game and something that you're just going to navigate through as you're going through it. My last bit of information to tell you about is about monoliths. Now, you won't encounter these until after the campaign, and the campaign will throw you into 3 monoliths before you can kind of go crazy with your own. But when it comes to doing them, you're going to hit ending the storm, which is pretty much the hardest one. It's kind of like that real big barrier before you get into like the true end game, and you're going to fight a really hard boss. But one thing that you should remember when you're doing all of your monoliths is just keeping in mind that if you hover over these, you have enemy modifiers and player modifiers, so that when you jump into any of these echoes and you do these little boss fights to jump into the next portion of the monolith or finishing it off with the last one here, make sure that your enemy modifier right here is nothing too drastic. Rare enemies regenerate health. That's no big deal. But high health enemies take 25% less damage. That just makes the fight way harder for me. Or if I come over here, enemies have a 35% chance to receive a glancing blow when hit. Okay, that mitigates some of my damage. Enemies have 25% increased health and focus on attacking players. That's just not going to be easier for me. Enemies deal 25% increased damage. Some of these are elemental focused. And all the ones I'm showing you are about to change because on 1.0, these enemy modifiers and player modifiers are going to be enhanced, changed, added. There's going to be a whole slew of different ones. But it's mainly just me pointing out, make sure you look at this in the corner here. This is active now for 3 echoes. I can go do 3 different echoes to try and get rid of it, but other ones are going to stack on. So before you do your boss, try to make sure you have the best player modifiers you can and the best enemy modifiers you can to maximize A, your gains, and B, reduce the amount of damage or the difficulty of dealing with the boss in a monolith. At that, it brings our video here to a close. So hopefully this helps you out in jumping into Last Epoch for the first time. A lot of these things are going to come very second nature to you, and you're probably going to push through a lot of what I've talked about here in the first 10 hours. And you're like, oh yeah, I see that already pretty quickly. But I think the biggest thing, like I said, is just kind of understanding how your mastery plays into your character and how you can still sample a little bit from the other masteries you don't specialize in to pull other things into characters you maybe didn't know you could do otherwise. But if you have any questions or there's anything else that you maybe discovered in your first couple playthroughs of Last Epoch in the last 4 or 5 years of early access, go ahead and let it be known in the comment section below. I didn't really go into, resource navigating like your gold and stuff like that, but gold is really, like I said, only used for stash tabs and Runes of Shattering. You're going to struggle with it in the very, very beginning, but then you're just going to have a surplus of gold non-stop. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.